Welcome back, everybody. I think many of you have heard me say over and over and over again that tax season, it's a team sport. It requires participation from both the tax preparer and the taxpayer, meaning the tax preparer should be asking questions and the taxpayer should be offering up the appropriate information. It is very important that both sides are working this. As a matter of fact, there aren't many tax returns that I can get through that I don't have to stop and ask a question or have something clarified. However, I'm currently in the middle of a nightmare with a set of clients that clearly do not understand this concept and don't believe it and believe I should be a mind reader. And the biggest problem that we had is they simply did not provide me with the information I needed in order to prepare an accurate tax return. Now, it's not that I didn't ask questions. I absolutely did ask questions. It's either that they didn't respond or they didn't have the answer or they didn't have the documents. And so it was a constant struggle. And when we finally got their tax return done for 2020, I thought, okay, we finally made it. We got it done. It's probably not 100% accurate because there's got to be stuff that we're missing, but it was a very disorganized, very frustrating process to get them to that point. And then we disengaged. I no longer wanted to be their accountant, and they no longer wanted me to be their accountant. So it was certainly a mutual disengagement. And of course, we have this 30-day disengagement period afterwards where we will work to get that transition to a new accountant done as best as we possibly can. But that didn't go so smoothly. As a matter of fact, it kept dragging out over and over. They kept requesting documents that I had already given them over and over and over again until at some point in time, I finally drew the line in the sand and said, I am no longer obligated to give you these documents. I've given them to you over and over again. It is not my job to make sure that you know where your tax documents, the 1098s, the W-2s, the 1099s are. They were constantly asking me for copies of documents that they had taken pictures of and emailed to me, which many of you know how I feel about you emailing me your tax documents. And honestly, JPEGs, not the best way to send them to me. So it's become this total nightmare that has continued to drag on now for the last 6 months, all because they didn't feel like it was their job to make sure that they participated in that project or in that process and provide me with the information I needed. There was some other income that they did not report to me that I needed to include on their tax return. So now I'm in the middle of wasting my time to amend a tax return that I didn't create the problem with simply because they did not participate. And it's really frustrating, you guys. I really work so hard to make sure that the product I punch out is as accurate and quality controlled as possible. I really do. I am human though, and I will make mistakes, but that's why we're working together. So one of the things as a taxpayer you need to make sure that you do is review the taxes before we file. So I think I'm going to do a little bit of a series on the things that you need to be looking out for as a taxpayer. But just remember, again, this is a team sport. Look through those organizers, look through that tax return, review, ask questions. I promise that your tax preparer will not be offended if you ask a question because, again, team sport, you guys. All right, we'll talk to you next week.